Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and as I get ready for another summer of adventure, I thought I'd go over some of my first aid kits, not with you, but with me. I needed to make sure they were all functional, they were all up to speed as far as the materials inside them, topped off, and that I could find them. And one thing that happened was we were looking for a first aid kit the other day. I had sent somebody out with a vehicle and they said, "Where is it?" And it was actually my best first aid kit. It was this one right here. I love this thing. This is my go-to, but it's a little too tactical. It's 5'11" here, and doesn't, I mean, except for this, it doesn't look like a first aid kit, but it's actually basically dialed in. This is my favorite first aid kit of the ones that I built. I think they were thinking of something like this, and this is, I usually have things like this fully supplemented, of course. That's why it's so overstuffed, but just extra odds and ends stuck in here that I end up using the most. I'm sure a lot of this probably is expired by now or dried out. That's why I have to go through these. But I had the request to have an obvious first aid kit within reach of the driver. And what I decided to do is start searching through some of the bags on Amazon and came up with this one, only because it's inexpensive, but had the few features I was looking for. It was like $13.99 or something. There are a few others. They're $15 and $18. What happens is a lot of times you can get a nice little first aid kit, and I always supplement them if they're, so I'm going to open this guy, supplement it if I can... if I start with something prepared, and there are lots of them that are prepared. I like the Adventure Medical Kits. It's a great starting place, but then I add to them. You know, you'll see there's always moleskin in them. I add a hydration or a washing syringe, liquid skin. You know, sometimes I'll have glasses in here, you know, for doing really fine work. And then I just add in more of whatever it is that I figure I'll be using the most of for whatever that kit's designed for, whether it's a river, whether it's off-road vehicles, whether it's hiking, rock climbing, etc., range. But anyway, I thought I would build out one of these and try it out, and if I find the bag that I like, I'll go ahead and get several and then put them in obvious places in the vehicles. This particular one, here's one of the features I wanted. This is velcroed onto this back panel. The back panel can easily attach through all kinds of different ways, even if it's just a little strap around a headrest or something behind a seat. Pop the buckle, this whole thing tears away. Some of the more permanently attached ones, you know, you have to cut them open or open them up in order to get out what you want. The other thing is, I started out with one of my favorite little field trauma bags. This one is an Adventure Medical Kit, but it's dark. Nobody would see that. Nobody would be looking for that. And so I've transferred those contents, most of them into here, and started to break things up into bags just to explore the space here and see if this is the kind of thing that will work. I can put more in it. There's plenty of room still. I have not expanded this fully, and there's room on the outside for more based upon this strap here. So there is more that I could attach into this thing. On the outside, this one I've got right now, a SWAT T tourniquet. Sometimes I'll use cat tourniquets. I always have those within reach. But also I wanted something that was a little bit more obvious, I guess, if you will, as far as a tourniquet goes. So that's why things like this are often on the outside, but I know that one's in there, and it's also could be considered a backup. And it's one that you can put on yourself easily, even if you're stuck in the driver's seat and you've got one hand. So that's one of the reasons these SWAT Ts are good. They are not as easy as to really tighten up as like CATs are, or combat application tourniquets, but you can use them in all kinds of different situations, and for a lot of other first aid uses as well. So then this guy, the more I've been playing with it, it seems like a solid unit. They don't have to have the absolute best components. In fact, a lot of them are pretty cheap, because most of the time it's just going to sit for the dozen times a year. It gets pulled out. It should last. This one does get used a lot, and that's why it's also, you know, one of the better ones. But I deliberately chose it not to stand out as a first aid kit. But I have used the Molly panels on the back in some cases, and it's worked fine. But it's often okay to start out. A lot of people say don't buy, you know, a pre-made first aid kit. Instead, what you need is, you know, to build your own so you know what's in it. I totally agree, except most people don't. So what I do is I supplement existing kits pretty quick. There are lots of different ways you can do that. You know, these are supposedly survival tools over here. I'd hardly take them if that's all there was, but that's how this kit arrived. This is probably my favorite of the larger kits. This is my overlanding kit. And again, this one gets supplemented pretty heavily. I actually put a dental kit in there, broken teeth, bigger injuries, put an Israeli bandage. It's got the manual, tick tweezers, plenty of moleskin, again, hydration or irrigation stuff. I threw some super glue in, some bug juice in, my Sam splint. Anyway, I don't remember. Packed this one with larger gauze pads, more moleskin. I go through a lot of that. That's where all the pills are. Anyway, so basically what I'm saying is I'm changing around some of my first aid kits to be an obvious one sitting somewhere within reach of a driver in a vehicle, and something that would obviously look like a first aid kit, not my usual wedged underneath the driver's seat or underneath the passenger seat where I know it is. I've also given away some recently, so I always take that as an advantage, you know, because now I get some new stuff. But I thought I'd point this one out. If you're thinking about building out a good first aid kit or building out a first aid kit for something specific, starting with the bag is not a bad idea, because it has to work for what you want, and it has to be able to be put in a place that you can actually get to. And what I discovered is I need to be able to count on somebody else identifying it, whereas something like that, they may not be looking for it. So that's why I started getting different bags, and this is where I'm beginning. And I'll let you know if I find a different one. But anyway, summer, so be prepared. With that, Doc out.